to another installment of Internal Security. I think this is like the fifth one, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm already like losing count. But nevertheless, thank you for coming back. I'm gonna go on topic and in detail about this other aspect of Eternal Security. For this one, I got a couple passages in mind. They all are really just going this theme where Christ is our shepherd, and it serves as a function to understand the assurance of God taking care of his own, right? So it really starts off with Psalms 23, and I'll read it, right? And it's a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth forever. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me, uh, shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So it's a very short psalm, but it's very poetic in nature. Essentially, just describing exactly what it's intended to, that we are um, going to secure victory and Christ is the one leading us. So there's a misunderstanding within Christianity that somehow we have to do our part. I mean, when we serve for God, He doesn't really need it in the sense that it's contingent on anything, but it's really for our benefit. And of course, sharing the mutual love that, between God and His children. But the fact here that's highlighting that David even understands that him being a shepherd and other uh, Old Testament prophets have this similar thing that God seems to appoint people to lead, and because since they're man, they don't really fulfill the same exact role that Christ is given, and he's the ultimate shepherd, the good shepherd to be exact. So here's another couple of passages to just flesh out that very idea. For this one, we're going to go to Psalms 95, verses 6 through 8. O come, let us worship and bow down. Let us kneel before the Lord our Maker. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture and the sheep of his hand. Today, if ye hear this voice, harden not your heart as in provocation, and in the day of temptation in the wilderness. So just imagine that you're going through life and you are part of his flock. Anywhere you go, he will always be there. And even though we try to stray away, he will be the one to always bring us back. So it's very thematic, right? When you use these illustrations and points that God is conveying, you can actually understand and become a little bit more familiar what guarantee that he's really showing here, right? So again, we'll transition into Matthew 18:10 to 14 that talks about this exact notion. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost. How think ye if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray? Doth he not leave the 99 and go with into the mountains and seeketh that which is gone astray? And if so be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoices more of the sheep than of the 99 which went. Um, sorry, it's a little bit cut off. Went out. So yeah, just like this passage is really just conveying is exactly what I was trying to get with, right? Other shepherds, they probably allow, taking into fact that, okay, that sheep is basically at a loss. There's nothing to do. So I just have to keep moving forward on. Unfortunately, God operates in the complete opposite way, where he doesn't have to compromise on certain things, despite how one can struggle in their walk with God. God is not somebody who is a good shepherd just for vanity reasons or just to share in that title. He's absolutely, every sense of the word, a responsible caretaker. And it's not like it's something that's exclusive to just duty, but something that he honestly enjoys doing because, of course, with humanity, it was actually a test that they were given authority to reign over uh, other living things, but man lost that authority to Satan. And so, realistically speaking, man cannot guide man. They need God in order to um, guide them. And being the sheep of a shepherd is exactly illustrating, conveying that exact same notion. So, we're going to look at Ezekiel 34, verses 22 and 23, which talks about this very thing. Therefore will I save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey. And I will judge between cattle and cattle, and I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David he shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. So this is something that he established and guaranteed that this will be the case. And yeah, this thing has been reappearing over and over and over again. I just read you a majority of Old Testament and one of the New Testament, but here in John 2 conveys this exact same notion. So let me just pull that up. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the porter openeth. And the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. So notice how there is a difference between those that are very familiar with God and following him in their own volition, and they essentially being described of how much they trust and in such a certain degree. I know within this life as a Christian myself, going about 4 years, it's very difficult to stay that consistently from beginning to end. But ultimately, it's something that I'm getting accustomed to because, of course, if I try to trust any other thing, including myself, it's going to lead me to destruction because, of course, the heart is deceitful and I can't really rely on the same degree that the Bible is describing apart from Christ. So, another food for thought is that if you actually pair this with Genesis 6, where God is leading the animals to the ark of Noah's ark, essentially, it's supposed to represent us being guided into salvation. So instead of Noah, it's Christ. And instead of the animals, it's just sheep that's entering by the door. So, of course, I'm reading the KJV. If you like to use a modern translation, that's fine by me. It's just a matter of preference. But if you actually compare these passages together, which I suggest you do, you can clearly see the parallels and the resemblance that God is leading the creatures, which is something that God refers to us time and time again. I think one good example would be Mark 16, where it says preach the gospel to every creature. So it doesn't really specify or make that distinction, separate like humans and animals. Everything that's in creation that has sentience is a creature in itself. So that's just like a food for thought. That's like an extra side lesson nugget. Definitely go more in depth about that in a separate video. But nevertheless, same chapter. Instead, we're going to read verses 11 through 15 of John 10. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. But he that is a hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming, and leaveth the sheep and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them, and scattereth the sheep. The hireling feareth, because he is a hireling, and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep. I am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. So this is beautiful. Honestly, I think the book of John is my personal favorite in the New Testament, or overall throughout the whole entire Bible, because really reading this particular book, it just brings me to tears and satisfaction that God is able to convey such beautiful words and give us things to be guaranteed. Because, of course, with eternal security, it's all contingent on how we're able to understand to the ultimate understanding that God is able to provide something that we can never attain through our own means. And it almost seems impossible. It seems too good to be true that this thing that's essentially been given and all we have to do is just receive seems so easy and an effort just by trusting in that. But it's kind of an oxymoron because in order for us to trust it, we need to trust it in the every absolute sense of the word. It's not really a partial thing that I can, okay, this is as far as we go when it comes in terms of me trusting you. It really just doesn't operate that way. Something that seems so easy on the surface is actually very difficult because it asks you to trust without any doubt, which is really impossible to do at any point in time. And I can really just attest to this. Imagine trusting somebody that you can't really do at a day-to-day basis when it comes to like regular interactions with people. We're talking about a being who is not limited to space, time, and etc. And essentially, the more we get to know him, the more it's like, okay, uh, there is no reason to distrust you, but I still am because of the experiences that I have here on Earth. Prevent me from doing so because I'm not used to dealing with somebody who just cannot lie to me, which is a very interesting perspective and reality that we're living in. And so I guess I'll just read this last verse to just really solidify this. John 10, verse 18. No man taketh it from me, but I lay that down on myself. I have the power to lay it down, and I have the power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. So this just reinforces the idea that God will be willing to do anything, including offering his life to preserve his sheep, his own. And that's exactly what eternal security is. In order to achieve this thing that God is providing, there needs to be an equal transaction or amount of value in order for it to be to do so. So don't take it for granted that God died for you so you can do things, or have a misunderstanding that even if you have this benefit of being with God forever, we shouldn't abuse, or any synonymous word that comes with taking advantage of something that we've been provided. That a lot of people, unfortunately, do not have that even still today. So if you're one of those people that haven't received Christ, please do so. And if you are those within Christ, make sure you share this message, get familiar, start preaching to your friends and families, and even to the lost, right? Anybody can love their loved ones, but loving our enemies is something that's more difficult, and that's what God commands us to do. So I think that's pretty much it. I don't have to add anything else. Thank you for watching once again. This is your friend, Redeemed Nomad, also known as Omni. Thank you for watching once again. And as always, take care and stay blessed.